man is the most anti-Irish person who seems to hate his country, seems to hate everything, and would you believe he's the Taoiseach? He's supposed to be the chieftain. That's what pretty much Taoiseach means, the Prime Minister, in other words. And this is not the first time he came up with this dribble. And that's what it is. We have to say it for what it is dribble. And it's anti-Irish. And to be totally honest, there should be a hate speech bill to stop this anti-Irish rhetoric from this fellow. He should be probably in prison, to be totally honest, for treason. Not for this remark. There's another remark that I find very, very offensive. And I think any Irish citizen should find this offensive. This is mildly offensive, let's put it this way, what he recently just said. Even though it's trying to rewrite history, let's be honest, it is literally trying to rewrite history. But there's been other things that he have said he probably should be put in prison for high treason. And I'll show you now in a second. But yeah, I don't even have to explain this because this is just pretty much propaganda to try and make a new history. That's pretty much what he's trying to do here, and the Irish government's trying to do. Is trying to make a new definition for Irish history. And it's bullshit because, again, let's be honest, history is history. You can't change history. You can change the future, but you can't change history. You can't change the past. As much as we want to change the past in different aspects, but you can't change the past, as simple as that. And history has shown time and time again that Irish people have been here for generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years, may I say. And many other things. Some of the other rhetoric he's been coming out with too. It's pure anti-Irish and it's pure treason, to be totally honest, nearly, if you ask me. Then especially too this thing, because especially this is what he said the other day, and fair play to Gwep Meaty for asking him. The new nation concept, is a very new concept, and he is right that I suppose nations was always split their states and stuff. That was but what he's really pretty much referring to is the Davos, the World Economic Forum. Their ideal is that there'll be no nation states, no identity of a state, and that's pretty much what he's talking about. He doesn't want an Irish identity. He wants basically us to be soulless individuals with no nationality. Basically, there'll be no person Irish, no person, say, Scottish, Polish, whatever. They don't want that. They want one kind of world order. And I suppose that's what it's really about here. Because it's looking behind what he's saying. Because, again, when you add two and two together, you get your answer. Because this is pretty much what he means, that there shouldn't be identity of states. And of course, states are important to have identity. Like, take for example, Ireland. I was recently in Finland. Finland has a different identity. Ireland has a different identity. That's nations, that's people, that's the identity of cultures, of heritage, etc., history. Finland, obviously, the Second World War, etc., the continuation of the Winter War. Ireland pretty much since the foundation of the state, not really within any conflicts, etc. There's different aspects, and then we can talk about different cultures, different ways of doing different things. That's what nation states are about. But it's the background of this. When you look into the background, you can see what I'm talking about, because the World Economic Forum pretty much doesn't want one state, they want one world government pretty much. And this is pretty much, Micheál Martin's all on board in this, because he's never, and again, the next thing I show you, you kind of understand. We want nothing to do with the backwards looking idea of sovereignty. So he doesn't believe that the people who went out in 1916, who give him his job, just to say, because only for Padraig Pearse, James Connolly, and the people during the War of Independence, Michael Collins, Arthur Griffith, there were Eamon de Valera too, the person who founded Fianna Fáil. He wouldn't have a job. Simple as that. There wouldn't be an Irish nation. And he doesn't care about their sacrifices. People like them. They sacrificed everything. Not for glory, not for money or anything. But hopefully one day we could be free. We could speak freely. We could be independent, our own sovereign country, our own government, our own parliament, our own army. And that's what them people fought for. They fought for the idea of sovereignty, that Ireland could have its own, stand on its own 2 feet independently and sovereign. And again, this is the person that's the Taoiseach of this country. This is now, not 20 years ago. This is now. 20 years ago, they wouldn't put up with this, people. They wouldn't have put up with it 20 years ago to hear this kind of yapping from a Taoiseach to say that we don't want a backwards looking at sovereignty. Sovereignty is everything to Ireland, to any state, to any sovereign state, to any state at all. Sovereignty should be the most important thing, because when you take away sovereignty, we have nothing, pretty much. We have no identity, we have no culture, we have no heritage, because sovereignty is the whole foundation of a state. And Micheál Martin's pretty much saying, let's take that all away. Let's get rid of it. We don't want a backwards looking idea of sovereignty. Them people that fought in 1916 in the War of Independence, they were just backwards looking people. They didn't care about the country. That's pretty much what he's trying to say. This is what he's alluding to in the nicest possible way. And then the next thing, to be totally honest, is pretty much high treason. Let's be honest. And just to say, I forgot to show you, Douglas Hyde was the first president of Ireland. And he pretty much nails the whole lot on the head. about what Micheál Martin said the other day. Because everything he says here is true. And Micheál Martin probably should look at what Douglas Hyde said. Because again, Douglas Hyde was huge into the Irish language. He promoted huge into the Irish language, the Gaelic League, etc., when it was being oppressed by the British, in the early 19th century, the 1920s, even the 1990s, before the First World War. And obviously he cared a lot for Ireland, along with the people who wore the first presidents, the first Taoiseachs and stuff like that, because they had to fight tooth and nail for Ireland to have its independence, and that's what they did, and they sacrificed a lot for it. So they cared a lot about Irish identity, Irish sovereignty, Irish freedom. And modern day Irish politicians want to throw that all out the window, unfortunately. But again, just read through that yourself and read what Micheál Martin said. Because it's very different concepts, let's put it that way. But this is the biggest, I think, the highest treason thing you could say. Like literally at Arbor Hill, in front of where the people in 1960, Patrick Pearse, James Connolly, are buried. Who, this is what he came up with. And this is what he said, like literally in front of their graves, people that sacrificed everything for this country. And he's basically making I don't know what you would really call this, but I don't know what you would call this, but definitely it borderlines treason. Like regardless of anybody, it does borderline treason at the highest level. Like it really, really does. Like literally the place that he's saying it at, and then this, he's coming up pretty much saying they fought for everything. They fought for the European Union. Like if you read the proclamation of the Irish Republic, which I have here, it's not that, but it says Irish men and Irish women in the name of God and the dead generations for which it proceeds. It doesn't say anything. We're fighting for Ursula von der Leyen. We're fighting for the European Union. We're fighting for other countries. It doesn't say that. Never in this proclamation that was made before the 1916 Rising by the heroes of the 1916 Rising. Their ideals and their vision of Ireland is clearly stated. It's not like it doesn't exist. He's trying to pretend it doesn't exist, so he doesn't have to look at it. But it clearly states that it's Irish men and Irish women, not everybody else. Like, we're not fighting for the European Union, we're not fighting for the world. Them people fought for their own independence, not for anybody else. And that's the thing. And again, what he's suggesting here, it was all we fought for the European, we fought for everything. Pretty much, we're fighting for, I don't know, Uruguayan independence or something like that. Because what he's suggesting here, the Irish people at that time, we're fighting for everything. We're fighting for the European Union. We're fighting for everything. He doesn't suggest that we're fighting for sovereignty, because let's be fair, at the end of the day, it was sovereignty. They wanted their own independent state. They wanted their own culture. They wanted their own heritage. They wanted their own government and their own army, their own currency. And pretty much that means sovereignty. He can't get it out of his mouth, unfortunately, that they were fighting for part of sovereignty. But that's what it was. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. And it is evil, to be totally honest, this kind of rhetoric. It is actually at the Irish. But again, if you add all of this together, it'd be different if you just said one thing, right? You could say fair enough. But it's all this taken together. It's very dystopian. It's very evil. The concept behind this is evil. What I'm trying to say is there's an agenda behind this to try and rid the state of its history. And that's what it is. There's an agenda behind it to make people ashamed of their history, Irish people ashamed of their history, and to try and rewrite a new history for young Irish people to feel like you're dangerous people and you're oppressed people, etc., Ireland has never oppressed any other country in the world. We have no claims to any other country in the world. We only have our island, and that's it. But for me, Martin, you think we were the worst evil people imaginable, the way he's going on. We have nothing to be ashamed of our past. We fought very hard for us to be here today, for our flag, that flag to be behind me. We fought very, very hard. Our grandparents, my great-grandmother was in Cunmamon, the Irish Women's League, hiding people in her house, hiding guns from the British to the Black and Tans during the War of Independence. And if she was alive today, I'm sure the majority of people who sacrificed everything could have lost everything. But they had ideals. The ideals were more than any physical object or any glory or anything. Their ideas, proceeded to their victory. And let's be honest. But they all would spin in their graves. Like, I don't know, could they spin any more in their graves? Because unfortunately, we've taken that ideal that they men and women fought for, and we've thrown it in the shock, pretty much. And that's what's happened. We've pretty much thrown it. So, pretty much this is extreme at the Irish rhetoric. And to be totally honest, they talk about hate speech and all that. We should probably have hate speech to protect Irish people from this kind of rhetoric. of trying to rewrite history, trying to pretty much erase Irish history in a way and rewrite it to their narrative. Because it is evil. It is evil. It's an evil narrative. And shouldn't be tolerated and should be called out at every possible opportunity. Because that's what we should do. Because, we should be proud of our history. We can't change history. There's things in the past that did happen and we have to acknowledge that. But, but at the end of the day, history is history. And trying to rewrite it to your narrative doesn't make any good to anybody. Doesn't remember the people who came before us. Doesn't remember the future generation. It doesn't do anything to anybody, pretty much. It only serves for their narrative. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more and bye.